My channel. We're on JC Soul Gems. I was filming for my other channel. I just finished my workout and I thought I would hop on here and do another layer of the shadow integration series. So number 4, shame and guilt. So let's just wait a little bit and let some people pop on. I hope that you enjoyed the rest in the series. I am linking the playlist down in the chat, so if you missed any of them, you can go back and watch them. They build on each other, and then we're gonna go into some of the how-tos a little more in depth after that series. So I'm really excited for this. Creator's been working with me on it, working with different layers of the collective. I always end up going through things first before the rest of the collective, because then I end up guiding the collective through a lot of their healing in my sessions, and just the way it shows up always comes through as a strong channel first. Now, understanding that shadow layers can take years to work on, and there's a point eventually where you want to stop trying to heal all the time. You want to just, meet things as they arise, but in the initial stages, it's best to bring it's best to build the tools that show you how to alchemize and integrate things really, really quickly. So I've mentioned this before, but theta healing is one of my favorite ways to alchemize strong, entrenched thought patterns, especially with all the ancestral generational healing that we're doing right now. Theta healing and belief tracking is super powerful. You can download things at whim. When you catch the root of a belief system, you can actually track 100 to 1,000 belief systems above it. So it is the strongest way to get through the labyrinth of the mind, and especially deep-seated layers. So like we're going to talk about today with shame and guilt. So as always, I channeled and made my notes before, but Spirit's gonna speak through me as well, because whenever I'm doing this, I channel, I pray before I come on. I'm always praying, let's be real, but I pray before I come on and just make sure that I'm super connected, and so that Creator is speaking through me and you're getting a transmission of healing, whether or not your conscious mind is understanding what I'm saying in the moment or not. Okay, my soul is helping your soul, my soul is connecting with your soul, and there is a healing exchange going on. Now, if you haven't followed me before, I am an Akashic Records keeper. I am a theta healer. I'm an energetic healer. I'm actually a reprogrammer from Atlantis and Lemuria. I've had many past lives in different ancient cultures on this realm, and they have all accumulated into this life for me to have my remembrance and to bring these skills and attributes back to the collective. When I first started my journey, I had a lot of family generational wounds. I was dropped into a very stagnant bloodline, like many starseeds are, to really shake it up. And ever since a young age, I could talk to animals. I had all these energetic gifts I couldn't really understand, and I didn't have the environment around me to help me understand them better. Now, I front loaded my karma, so I went through a lot of darkness at the very beginning, but Creator always held me, Creator always guided me, and all of that darkness was the fruits of my remembering to come through. And that's why I felt really guided to bring through this shadow work and to come and talk to you about this today, because shadow work is so important. We cannot appreciate the light, we cannot appreciate the light, we cannot appreciate the good in our lives without the dark. Now, some of us have front loaded our karma. Some of us have front-loaded our karma, and so we've gone through a little more shadow than the other, but it doesn't make it any less potent to the one experiencing it. Now, today, I wanted to talk about how shame and guilt, it anchors in at all layers and levels, right? And so in this experience, you're going to experience it mostly on the physical first, but we are also clearing and healing our past lives right now. So all of that is coming through energetically. It's coming through our cells, and we are actually clearing shame and guilt at cellular levels from our ancestors and from our past lives. And that depends on the level within which you meet your strength, your courage, and your soul purpose in this life now. Every time you meet a layer and you create that safety and that security and that stability, a new layer might arise because it feels safe enough to come up and be healed, right? And so when you don't address these things, when you just kind of keep moving on and you kind of do more day-to-day things and you don't dive into the internal depths of your soul, of your healing, of your shame and guilt, when you don't look at those shadow layers, it can start to actually block your manifestations. It can block your love life. It can block your money situation. It can block anything you're trying to manifest, it can stop you from anchoring it, or you can have all those false starts where you have a strong vision of your purpose and a strong vision of what you want your life to be, or what you feel like you came to this planet to offer people, and then it'll start to happen, and then it all falls apart. And then that will happen over and over again because there's shame and guilt layers that might be coming up that need to be addressed. And I will also say that we are dealing with shame and guilt layers and belief systems from our ancestors as well. And some of those can get active in the field because we are the lighthouse. We are the ones healing the whole generational line right now. So the stronger that you are, the more patterns that are going to come up to alchemize them. But remember, you can always handle what is given to you by the universe, by creator. And so that you are never given anything that you aren't strong enough to manage and handle. It's just sometimes we panic or we judge ourselves and think we can't. And then that's when we all start to, really start to kind of sink back into patterns, and then desires become painful because they get caught up in those shame and guilt spirals. Then not to mention that the collective as a whole actually moves and goes forward with shame and guilt patterns. Remember in my last series, we talked about how a lot of family lines have learned to cope by siphoning off of people, by taking energy that's not theirs, by using shame and guilt patterns to keep people stuck or doing what they want or to survive. And so those patterns can be active within our field as well. And addressing them and just bringing our best self forward, remembering that we are love and that we are spiritual beings, and really seeking to find that core so that it's constantly operating through us. Creator and pure unconditional source love, light and energy does not operate from shame and guilt. There is no shame and guilt within that. So if that exists within you, even at low level things, even at low level interactions throughout the day with people at work or in social situations, those are blocking you. Okay, and it will block you at varying degrees. Now, the ones who will be blocked the most are going to be the ones that went through the most trauma and have these shame and guilt patterns from all these narcissists or abusers that might have been in their lives, teaching them that their needs don't matter, their feelings don't matter, and they don't come first. So again, that's where you're going to really see the difference and variance within yourself and how much work you have to do. Now, if you're at the lower levels and you haven't had as much trauma, you're going to be able to alchemize things really, really quickly, but they still need to be addressed. There's still little nuances going on that will be keeping you stuck. It will be keeping you at a glass ceiling. It will be keeping you from holding a certain amount of income. It will be keeping you from that raise. It will be keeping you from that next step up. And that's what our metaphorical glass ceiling is. And you can break it spiritually by changing and shifting and going within and really understanding yourself and seeing what is still stuck inside of you, what is still causing stress and de-stress. And then if you look at Louise Hay's work, of course, then you see that when the mind is not at ease, we have disease, dis-ease. The mind is not at ease. And so whenever the energetics aren't at ease, can be triggered from any layer though, then you're going to have mental patterns that aren't at ease, and then you're creating stuff on the physical that is going to hinder and block you. Chronic diseases, chronic illnesses, chronic conditions, even chronic accidents can start to loop and come back through with shame and guilt patterns, right? And that's what they are at the core of them. Somewhere along the way, you believed you didn't deserve that, or you were ashamed of something maybe that your family did that you don't even remember, or ashamed of stuff you did in your other life that you might not even remember, and they might just be looping in yourselves. And when you come to energy workers like me, that of course know what they're doing, you always vet an energy worker, make sure they're in your lineage, that you pray on them, you check intuitionally, but then you also check their status. How many people have they helped? How successful have they been? Of course. But I believe there's so many healers rising right now because there's so many different lineages to help. But anyway, we come in and we can help you to remember those things and clear them up. And some of them you don't even have to consciously remember, because our ego, our operating system, is going to get attached to the story. It can get attached to the shame and the guilt spiral again, and that's kind of part of it. And you can use energetics to clear those things out without having to constantly remember every single thing we've ever went through or that our ancestors have went through. Although this is a time of bringing divinity in through our hearts, in through our vessels, and then being able to witness some of the atrocities that we went through in past lives, our ancestors have went through, or we've even went through in this life, with that divinity partnered within us. And that's part of what cleans it out. And this is what sets this type of work apart from psychological therapy and mainstream therapy and mainstream medicinal kind of psychiatrics and whatnot, is because you're not looping around the problem. You're not just in the mental space. You're actually in all layers and all levels. And then you're taking creational energy, which is our life force. It's where everything emanated from. And you're actually reprogramming the cells so that these traumas and these cellular things come out of you, right? And so these are some of the things that come up with the shame and guilt. Okay, so some of the other notes I made in meditation was desirability wounds. So I kind of talked about that. It's like, I don't deserve that. And then sometimes you can have multiple programs running at the same time. Like hi Wyatt, I am rich and I am poor. And those are conflicting programs, and those will also block your meditation. But underneath that can be a lot of shame and guilt that I don't believe that I don't believe that that I don't believe are, I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, so yeah, desirability wounds that you won't actually even think that you have. Like, you will be like, oh no, I totally believe that I deserve to have wealth and I deserve to have everything that I desire, but you might actually have a program blocking it that's judging having money, or judging what kind of person you would be or how people would treat you having money. And that's a shame and guilt pattern. And those are shame and guilt spirals as well. Then we also have, I've talked about this in the other series as well, we have high addictions to pain and suffering as a collective. And so some of those will also stop us from receiving, because that's what shame and guilt wounds do too, is they stop you from being able to receive things. They stop you from being able to, you might be able to give, but you might not be able to receive that back. Okay. So another part of a shame and guilt wound will be overdoing, where you just cannot be at peace at all. You will not be at peace at all if you okay, so you will not be at peace at all unless you are doing something for other people. And overdoing, overworking can create a lot of health problems as well, especially if you become into workaholism, or you put yourself last before everybody else. I talked about that in the mother wound as well. Father wounds can do it too, overworking past their capacity and never stopping when they're sick, never resting, never stopping when they're ill. And so those are some of the things that can come up with a shame and a guilt wound. And then everything comes before you. It's kind of that self-sacrificing wound. And then you never have time to meet your needs. Okay. And then I talked a little bit about the ancestor wounds and how they can come through in love and money box, and where you cannot receive because you might have had vows of celibacy, you might have had vows of poverty, you might have just had entrenched patterns of like, this is how it is, money's hard to make, you can't make it without money, or that doesn't happen to our family, that doesn't happen to us. And so there's all kinds of different programs and belief systems that are working around inside of you, and they are interacting with your reality. And that's where you are a co-creator of your reality. Your thoughts and the way that you meet life are helping to create your reality. But a lot of us don't go deep enough into the subconscious to address the thought patterns that are truly controlling our reality. And that's typically where the shame and guilt patterns live. Okay, there's also with shame and guilt patterns that you just can't play. We talked about the workaholism, but you just can't play, you can't rest. There's no pleasure in life. It's all do. It's really, really intense to be around. You can't let go until you feel everything is healed around you. You feel over responsible for everything around you, take on other people's karma, or you take on other people. If someone does something wrong, you're always apologizing, you're always saying you're sorry. Those are shame and guilt wounds that need to be cleansed out and purged out of the cell. Now, control issues can come with shame and guilt patterns, because you want to control everything around you, because it makes your environment feel really, really safe, and it makes you feel safe to control your environment. And now we're seeing this a lot right now with a lot of trauma patterns. But the problem is you can't actually control everything in your environment. You can't go out in public and control other people. And so actually bringing divinity in to your healing practice and going within and cleansing the cells in an energy exfoliation and cleansing the cells with spiritual love and light will actually help you to heal and remove these patterns so they're not trauma looping in your mind or your brain. They actually help to remove the repeating pattern so that you aren't haunted by it anymore, so that you aren't carrying it around. Whereas typical models of therapy right now, you're just constantly talking about the problem and circling the problem, and it never actually leaves you, right? You're constantly stuck in a traumatic loop. And again, depending on your level, if you have PTSDs or anything like that, any versions of those levels will get stuck in you because you haven't actually cleared the trauma out of your cells. You haven't cleared the cellular memory, right? And so we live in a society that is extremely divorced from that energetic side and that soul side, but those are capacities that will make you whole. The reason that I'm so passionate about this is because I was struggling with so many of these things, and then I found energetic work, and it completely changed my life. It completely changed my being. It helped my cells become younger and more youthful. It's given me more energy, and then it's given me more fulfillment, more peace. My life has constantly shifted and changed. And I know many of you who are going to find these videos that are going to need these. You're on these edges. You have been exploring all of this for years, and these are your last little pieces to like make you whole again. And these are the last missing pieces that maybe you just needed the courage, and you just needed that kind of connection through Creator to know that, yeah, you can do it. Yes, this is real. And when you address the energetic side of all of these things that are going on in the physical, you can enact super huge amounts of healing. So like Louise Hay, for instance, let's talk about her work. So her Heal the Body book, she'll tell you about the she will tell you about the different she will tell you like about the different ways that you can kind of pull the threads of where you might need healing, right? So she'll look at you in the mental layers, and she will look at through, hello, she will look at you in the mental layers, and she will give you the thought pattern that's going on in the mental layer that will help to link it to the energetic stuff. And then you can go into forgiveness work or shame and guilt healing. And that actually helps a lot. So her work I really do recommend, although there's been all kinds of different modalities about it. And you can even talk about Neville Goddard, and he talks about the reality and how you have so much control over your reality. But I believe that some of us have a lot of shadow work and a lot of trauma work that even block us from being able to use some of those things. Okay. So overthinking is another thing that will happen with shame and guilt wounds, because you'll constantly be blaming yourself or thinking you could have done something better or differently, or you'll be worrying about problems and problem solving, usually at night when you haven't listened to yourself and you go to like sleep and you go to have quiet time. Your inner world is calling for you to speak to it, to connect with it, to actually go within yourself and see what's going on and give your different parts of yourself love. Like in the last Inner Child series, there's a lot of our inner child woundings that are going on in there. And then there's just different parts of ourselves that need attention, need love, need addressing, need reparenting. It really just needs a different version, I call it divine perspective, brought into that part of you, and it will actually re-edit the cells and the cellular trauma that you're going through. Okay, and then shame and guilt wounds, lastly, will block clairvoyant channels. So especially visualization. So again, we come back, it will block your manifestation, or you'll be using visualization to imagine the worst case scenario all the time. You'll be using visualization to imagine just different things like that could go wrong, and you're not actually manifesting, what does mean our phone say, up and out? You're just manifesting to try to get out of crappy situations when you could actually be manifesting your best life, right? But then the shame and guilt, even if you can visualize it, if that's not your block, you might not be able to receive it, right? And then shame and guilt, it comes into all of your relationships. Shame and guilt is a huge pattern that attracts a lot of predators. It attracts a lot of users because it can really tell within your language that you don't receive, that you blame yourself, that you overwork, and that you're overdoing. And so this is where it becomes a confidence and a self-esteem thing, and it brings in more esteem, more presence. And when you're working body, mind, heart, and then spirit, all governed by spirit, and you have all of your layers working together, and you have a whole auric field, you're going to come back into your crystalline auric field. You're going to resonate a warmth, a love, a positivity that we came down here to do. And if you resonate as a starseed, you are going to actually be grabbing all of that energy, and you're going to be able to use it as usable energy to make your best life and to make your most fulfilling life. Okay. So I talked about few different ways to heal, just with theta healing and just with different energetics or with Louise Hay's work. But there's all kinds of bodies of work now. You can go into different types of therapy, but I just encourage you to choose therapists that also acknowledge and use energetic work with it, meditation. There are meditational processes out there. We live in an age where coaching was not available to us even just a decade ago, but now it's available to us completely. And there's so many coaches out there, there's so many different healers, there's so many different modalities, so they can meet you at any layer that you might be at. Like, remember I said you might only need a little bit of alchemization, you might need more alchemizations, you might need a whole team, right? And so it's always body, mind, heart, and spirit. So we always want to work with therapists that work on all of those levels, but energetics will get you there so quickly. It will stabilize all the other levels. At first, when I first started energy work, I wasn't even sure about it either. And now I know that people who find me, they're meant to find me. And even if they're not ready for what I'm saying and they don't understand it yet, there is a part of them that understands it. And when I first started my work and I got into it, I was wounded. I didn't believe in any of this stuff. And what ended up happening was Creator and the universe put me through a car accident. And I was doing the chiropractics and I was doing the physical healing. And then I decided to try some energy work. And I tried pranic healing. And the pranic healing, on the weeks that I merged that with the chiropractic work and the physio work, I got better and it stayed for longer. And the weeks that I didn't and I was just doing the physical, it wasn't as effective. And so that's where I started to really explore. And then I started merging it into my personal training. It was helping people to, if I got the mental and the emotional components in with the physical and the energy stuff, we were able to create permanent changes in the mind, the mindset about food, and the mindset about resistance, and the mindset, and then even the body. The body started to lose weight and those changes stayed. And so then I just continued my journey, which was again fruits of my awakening. So every single thing that was actually like working started on the energy realms first, and that's how I started my journey. And everything in my life has proven that to me, and I will go into my life story in another video. That's not what this one's about. I just wanted to talk to you today a little bit about shame and guilt. And I know that this video will help someone who has been going through this and needs some of those other pieces, or they're just looking for their next layer of healing. And they've been doing all the work maybe on all the other layers, and now they need to add the energetics in it. And like I said, my soul is talking to you more than just through these words and more through than just in this video. And it's giving you a transmission of healing. And even the ones that don't understand what's being said, they are still getting a transmission, and their soul has guided them here for a reason. I know Spirit brings people here at the right time in the right way. And so if you want to work with me one-on-one, I've left all my notes in the description, how you can get a hold of me. Me or my team will email you back within 48 hours and get you all set up for any kind of one-on-one healing sessions that you like. And you can always message me or anything with serious inquiries and healing. I am so blessed to be able to do what I do and help people with this deep transformational work that is truly, truly life-changing when you embrace it and you embrace yourself and you move past the limiting belief systems that the collective has put in you to disempower you. I hope that you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you on the next one. Namaste. Be blessed.